everybody. Welcome to Fanatic Breakdown. I'm your host, Chris Higgins, with all the latest NFL and NBA news. And today I'll be bringing you guys my NFL mock draft over the offseason. Things have progressed, obviously. New signings and stuff like that, cuts, and obviously just roster changes in general. So I would like to share with you my top 15 picks in the NFL draft. If you like it, please let me know in the comments, and I can make a part 2 going through 16 through 32 picks. And please let me know in the comments what you would change. But I would also like to say, before we get into this, that obviously this is my opinion. And as much as I tried to keep opinion out of it, there's still going to be, or that still creeped in, obviously. But without further ado, let's hop into it. At my first overall pick, obviously I have the Carolina Panthers, who traded up with the Chicago Bears. But I have them selecting Bryce Young. Obviously, we all know they're going to go with a quarterback. At this point, is one of the four. And obviously there are two different options they can go with here between the four quarterbacks, two of them being Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, who are more refined as prospects who will make an impact now. And then we have guys like Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, who are less refined but have very, very high ceilings if they are developed by their teams correctly. And I have the Panthers taking at number 1 Bryce Young. And I've seen a lot of people saying that just because Bryce is short or he's not that tall, I think he's 6'1". I don't quote me on that. I may be wrong, but he's fallen due to that, and I don't think that's smart. And given the fact that the Panthers have come out and said that they're not discrediting him as a prospect because of his height, tells me that they are really deeply looking into him. So I have the Panthers selecting Bryce Young. At my second overall pick, it is the Houston Texans, who are also in deathly need of a quarterback, as Davis Mills really isn't going to get the job done. Let's all be honest with ourselves. And I think that the two top prospects are going to be the refined quarterbacks who can win now. And that leads me to pick CJ Stroud as pick number 2. I think they're going to take whoever's left out of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and in this situation is CJ Stroud, who is also a very, very good quarterback. I feel that Bryce Young is slightly elevated above him at this point in time. So that is my second pick. And my third pick is going to be the Arizona Cardinals, of course. And I've seen a lot of people saying that they're going to take Will Anderson Jr. here. But I don't agree. And obviously, not obviously, but I do believe that Will Anderson is the best prospect left on the board at this point. But I don't think they're in deathly need of a pass rusher at this point. But they definitely need secondary help, as their secondary last year in general wasn't that great, and they just lost Byron Murphy and haven't found a replacement for him at this point in time. So I have them taking Devin Witherspoon to help that secondary out, and he is, in my opinion, the best corner on the board that will help them win now, as their team is built to win now. So that's my selection for the Arizona Cardinals. And this, without a doubt, was my hardest decision to make. At number 4, it's the Indianapolis Colts. And I am almost 100% sure they'll be taking a quarterback here. And I'm torn between Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, but I ended up going with Anthony Richardson. And I'm not too happy with that pick, but I'm pretty sure I'm higher on Anthony Richardson than I am on Will Levis. Very hard decision though. Although I think Anthony Richardson, he's just a better athlete. Not saying I think he's a better quarterback. I think Will Levis's IQ at this point is slightly higher. But I do think Anthony Richardson, due to his size and athletic ability, is going to go at 4 here to the Colts. At 5, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and I have them taking Will Anderson Jr. If you were paying attention to the first few picks, this really isn't a surprise to you, as he's the best player left on the board. And unlike the Cardinals, the Seahawks actually do need a pass rusher to help out Jamal Adams, who went down with a season-ending injury last year. But I think those two could play very well together, along with a young budding defense. So that's who I have going at number 5 to the Seattle Seahawks. And at number 6, I have the Detroit Lions taking Tyree Wilson. And obviously, last year at pick number 2, they selected Aiden Hutchinson, who has turned out to be amazing. Had a few interceptions last year. Great when it came to tackling and getting to the quarterback. But on the other side, he needs somebody, and that could be Tyree Wilson, who provides speed. Aiden Hutchinson is the power, he's the speed. I think that could be a very great dynamic duo at pick number 6. At pick 7, it's the Las Vegas Raiders, and I have them selecting Jalen Carter here. And this was a tough decision because he did fall in my draft. At first, I had him going number 3 to the Cardinals instead of corner Devin Witherspoon. But Jalen, due to his off-field issues as of recent, as well as his struggles at the pro day, like he couldn't even finish his exercises because he was running out of breath. It's just, I don't, I don't like that. I don't like what I saw. But either way, he is still a very talented guy who did amazing in college. So I don't see him falling out of the top 10, and here I have him going 7 to the Raiders. He will play alongside Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, who are both very capable of teaching him the ways. So I would say 7, Raiders, Jalen Carter. And at number 8, I was kind of conflicted here because it's the Atlanta Falcons. And I almost took Will Levis here as he is the best quarterback still on the board, but then I was thinking, I think they're just going to write it out with Desmond Ridder. So with that in mind, I think they're going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is a wide receiver. He's going to be a great weapon for Ridder, and I don't think Kyle Pitts and Drake London are two good enough weapons for an offense. Like, those two guys alone are all they have, and that's just not going to cut it. Especially, like, if the team they're playing has one good linebacker and one good corner, those two guys are shut down, and Cordero Patterson on the ground won't be able to do everything, and he's only aging. So I think an extra wide receiver or a wide receiver 2 here is a huge need for them. With an offensive line that they extended this year, or the two of them that they extended, or two of their offensive linemen they extended. So I think if they take Jackson here, they could be a very great team. And at number 9, I have the Chicago Bears taking Peter Skatonski, offensive lineman. And at this point, on the offensive line, they need all the help they can get. Because I do like the things that they've done to get weapons. Like, obviously, they have Darnell Mooney already. They traded for Chase Claypool before the trade deadline last year. And now they have DJ Moore on top of that in the trade that they made to get rid of the first overall pick, to go along with a good tight end in Cole Kmet. But now you need some offensive line help. And if you can get your wide receivers open, or you give them time for their routes to develop, they could be amazing. And I think that's what Skatonski can provide. So that is my number 9 overall pick. And number 10 is the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have them taking Myles Murphy, who will play on the edge alongside Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham in this situation. And I like it because obviously those two guys that I previously mentioned are very good, and they've done this before. They've both won a Super Bowl. And other than that, I mean, like, have one of those guys on the left and then Myles Murphy on the right. There's not really much else that they really need. They have a great offensive line, great wide receivers, an amazing quarterback, great defense apart from maybe this position. And then they lost TJ Edwards, middle linebacker, but they could easily replace him. Same thing with Miles Sanders, who they lost at running back. They could easily replace him. But, so I have them taking Myles Murphy here just to add to the pressure that they put on teams anyway. And then at 11 is the Tennessee Titans, and I have Christian Gonzalez going here, corner out of Oregon. And it's very obvious. If you ever watch the Titans, they definitely need secondary help. Like, obviously, they got a young Caleb Farley who's still developing, dealing with injury issues, though, which we knew was going to happen out of the draft. Christian Fulton just hasn't really developed the way we would have hoped so far. So yeah, they definitely need secondary help. And if he can play well alongside an aging Kevin Byard, then that's a double plus. But here I have the Titans taking Gonzalez to help with that horrendous, to say the least, secondary. And at 12, I was kind of stumped here for the Houston Texans again, who are once again on the clock after they already had the second pick, 10 picks later. But I have them taking edge Lucas Van Ness. And like I said, they need everything, but I do think defensive lineman is one of their biggest needs. And I think this will definitely help the development of their young corner in Derek Stingley, who they took, I think it was 2 or 3, I think it was 3 last year. But I like it because if you can get both of those guys clicking on the same page, in a few years that defense could very well be lethal. Now at 13, and this one could be, or I'm literally doing this pick off of one thing in particular happening over the rest of the offseason. But I have the New York Jets selecting Paris Johnson Jr. here for the offensive line. And I'm only saying this if they end up trading for Aaron Rodgers, just because you know this is going to make him happy. And I think it's going to happen even more if the trade doesn't occur before the draft, because this is really going to entice him. If he has solid offensive line help and they sign the list of guys that he gave them, or that he gave New York, then I think that's really going to sell it. So I have them taking Paris Johnson Jr. here. But if they write it out with Zach Wilson for another year, which I highly doubt, then I don't see them taking him. I'm 99% sure that an Aaron Rodgers trade is going to occur, so I have Paris Johnson Jr. going here. And at 14, it's the New England Patriots, and I have them selecting Jordan Addison, who is a wide receiver. And I say this because, let's be honest, if you look down the New England Patriots depth chart of wide receivers, you see a lot of good, but not great, and a lot of older numbers up there when it comes to age. So I just see them taking him to go along with the future of Tyquan Thornton. So if in a few years those two guys are going to be the ones starting, I wouldn't be surprised. And then at 15 for the Packers, I have another wide receiver here, and it's Zay Flowers. And I don't think we're surprised that I took a wide receiver for them here, because they lost Alan Lazard here. They lost Robert Tonyan, their tight end. Obviously, they're losing Aaron Rodgers, so they're more than likely going to lose Aaron Rodgers. So you're going to want to surround the young quarterback Jordan Love with weapons. And at this point, before they lost Lazard, they barely had any weapons. They have Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, but that's basically it. And then you have two great running backs, but that's not really going to help you if you can't move the ball through the air. So I think that's what they're going to go here. They're going to go Zay Flowers to give another weapon for the young development of Jordan Love. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this point. But obviously, I'll more than likely be back tomorrow with a few YouTube shorts, so stay tuned for those. But with that said, I'm your host, Chris Higgins, and this has been Fanatic Breakdown.